Hi guys, thanks for joining me. We are going to be making this super cute Parker on the Porch Clutch 2020. This is the size 5 zipper. The size 3 zipper is made the exact same way. It's just the width of the zipper that's different, okay? But the steps on how you put it together are exactly the same. So we are going to make this cute little bag. Here's the front and the back. There's the inside completely lined, super cute. I like to make this size. This is the 5 by 7. I like to make this size for little kids. I like to add these little wrist coils. They can put it on their wrist and run around with it. So it's a super cute bag. If they don't want the wrist coil, it comes off right here off of this. They can use it as a hair pony and they can clip this to backpacks. It's super useful, very cute. Fun bag. Okay, so thanks for joining me. Get a 5 by 7 hoop with 1 sheet of cutaway and meet me at my machine. Okay guys, I have my 5 by 7 hoop, 1 sheet of cutaway. I'm running the Baby Lock Meridian machine if you're curious. I have the Parker on the Porch size 5 zipper bag, clutch 2020 loaded, and I'm making the 5 by 7, so I have that size loaded. This design comes in the size 3 zipper or the size 5 zipper. We're running the size 5 here, so make sure what one you're purchasing, they are different files that you purchase. Okay, so we're making the number 5 size zipper. They're made exactly the same, just so you know the steps, like how I show you. If I show you this tutorial for a size 5, you can follow along for the size 3. The only difference is the width of the zipper and which zipper you're using, but the steps are all the same. Okay, so keep that in mind. So I'm going to go ahead and do the very first step, which is the placement stitch directly onto the stabilizer. I'll come back and show you what that looks like. Okay guys, this is what it looks like right here. It went ahead and did the placement, so now we know how big to make the fabric, and it also has the placement for the zipper, and that's what the next step is. Okay, so the difference between the size 3 and the size 5 zipper bags are the width of the zipper, okay? So the size 3, this is like a standard size 3 right here. It comes already put together with a zipper pull and a zipper end. If you like these kind of zippers, you're going to want to buy the size 3 zipper bags. Several of her bags come in a size 3 and a size 5. Some of them do not. If there is only one, it's usually just the size 3. She normally starts with the size 3 at Parker on the Porch. So if it says size 5, then that's a size 5 zipper. If it does not say a size at the beginning of the title over on the website, it means it's size 3. So if it doesn't, they don't all say size 3 or size 5. If they say size 5, it is size 5. If it doesn't indicate it, then it's a size 3, okay? So this is what the size 3 zippers look like. The width is just different. So I buy my size 3 zippers over at ZIPIT Zippers at on Etsy. And there is a discount for Parker on the Porch people if you type POP capitalized 10, pop 10. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. I looked it up. Hold on, let me make sure. Yeah, pop 10, you get a 10% discount on zippers. Okay, and then the other size is the size 5 right here. So they do look different. This one comes on tape rolls. These come like this. You can get size 3 on tape now as well in custom zipper pulls. Just make sure you know what you're ordering on the sizes, okay? So this is a size 5. What I usually do is I just burn the edge. It makes it a little easier so it doesn't fray while you're putting the zipper on. Go ahead and pull it off. I turn it upside down like this, and then I take a zipper pull. I get my size 5 zippers over at My Handmade Space. They have a website, but they also have an Etsy, so you can go to either one of them. And then there's lots of zipper pulls. This is a zipper pull from there. There's a lot of different custom zipper groups, and you can find a lot of different custom ones on Etsy, but they have some cute ones as well. So this is a heart one. So I flip both of them upside down like this away from me, and then I kind of go at an angle on this side and an angle on this side like this. And then I just push, make sure they're kind of like even. That's what makes a difference on getting these to go. And then I just pull and I get it on like that, okay? And then as far as placing this zipper, You want to place them. I normally just place them right next to this bottom line right here. Let me show you. Right here, this bottom line right here. I just make sure the edge of this is next to that bottom line. But if you want to place the exact spot, there's a line in the middle. If you take, you can see where the zipper teeth are, this middle right here. If you place that exactly along that line, then you are in the right place as well. So whichever way is easier for you, you want to make sure that your zipper is past these stitch lines right here with enough room for the foot of your machine to get all the way around it without hitting your zipper pull any of your hardware on here. Okay, so if you want your zipper pull to go from this direction, then make sure it's over here. If you want it to go the other direction, you have that choice. Just place it the other way. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and place it right along here, right next to that line where you can barely see it, but you can see it. Okay, and then I'm just going to take some tape, and you are going to go ahead and just tape it down so it doesn't move. The next step is going to go ahead and stitch a tack down line right here, jumping your zipper teeth and tacking the top down, just getting your zipper tacked to your stabilizer. So let me just tape this. I'm going to go over to my machine, and I'm going to stitch the next step, and it's just going to tack that down. So let me show you kind of like where I placed it. So you can still see the bottom line right below, but it's right next to it. So I'm gonna go stitch that, and I'll come back and show you what it looks like. Okay, this is what it looks like right there. You can see that it went ahead and tacked the zipper down, okay? So what we're gonna do next is we're gonna flip our hoop to the underneath of the hoop. And I always kind of, let me get some scissors. We're gonna cut out this cutaway right here so we can turn our bag later. Okay, so we're gonna cut right between the second line up. I'm just getting it started with those sharper scissors, but then I'm gonna take these applique scissors and I'm just gonna cut. You don't want to cut the top, you're just right underneath those stitches, and then you're just gonna cut down and cut across. Okay, so that's just where your center zipper teeth were that we were at. So you still have that line, and you have your top line. We just cut this center part out right here. So later when we flip the bag, we have an opening here. Our cutaways out of the way, and it's easier to do it now before you have liner and fabric next to it. The only thing you have to worry about is not cutting your zipper. Okay, so we got that part done. Now it's time to measure for our fabric. So I'm going to do my liner first, and I'm going to use this fabric. It's just a pink, I think. Let me see what this is. Okay, this is Riley Blake Designs, and it's probably called something. Okay, so here you go. This is what I'm going to use. Okay, so the way that I do is I make tons and tons of bags. That's pretty much what I mainly make. So I'm going to go, I just go ahead and turn it to the side. This doesn't matter which direction it goes. You would cut this fabric differently, and depending on if you needed a design to run the right way, but I do not. So I'm just going to go like this, and I just measure over the top of this bag all the way to the placement down here, and I cut that distance. Now, if you are really like trying to conserve your fabric, I do not conserve fabric. So I'm sure I frustrate people that really want to conserve their fabric. I don't. I like to make sure I have enough. I don't like to be close. So I just measure from the top to the bottom. Keep in mind, you do not need that same amount for the liner on the front of the bag because it goes from here to here. You have a fold, we're going to fold it, so you need a little bit extra, but you can measure from here to here with a little bit extra for the fold, and then for the back liner from here to here, if that makes sense. It will make sense as we go, but I just cut the same for both because I can cut it all at once and it just takes me less time. So I just make sure that I get all the way to the top, and then I see my placement line right here and I just go below it. Okay, so I will have excess fabric when I go and place the liner, and I always have to cut a little bit of it so it doesn't go on here, and you'll see that. Okay, so we cut our fabric there. Okay, so we cut our fabric there. Now I'm gonna go make sure I get enough to go this direction now. So I'm just gonna go ahead, I'm gonna cut the selvage off. So I don't accidentally use it in my bag. Okay, so then I just measure from this side, the placements here to placements here to make sure that I have enough. And I cut across like this. And you need two pieces because one's the front liner and one's the back part of the liner, okay? So now I have two pieces here, the size that I want, okay? So that's how I measure and cut my fabric on here. I'm gonna do the same for the piece I'm gonna do on the front, okay? Now I'm gonna use this fabric, this cute little panda fabric, and I am completely sorry. I have absolutely no idea where I bought this fabric. I've had it a while. It is cotton lycra, so it's stretchy. You can use woven cotton lycra, vinyl. You can use all sorts of fabrics on bags. This fabric's super cute, and I'm just gonna, I've already cut these before, so this is bigger than it needs to be, but it's already been pretty much cut, so I'm just going to use this, and I'm just going to place it over there. I'm going to cut like this because it makes it two. And then I'll cut a little bit down here just so it's not so oversized, and just get rid of the extra. Okay. And this is too long both ways too. So if you don't want to work with that much fabric because it makes it a little harder to handle, and then you have more interfacing, you can cut this way too. Okay. And just get that off. Okay. So I have a front and a back of this, and I have my liners. So here's my fabric I need. We're going to need a bottom edge fabric later, but I'll measure that when the placement comes down. So now we are going to place the front of our bag and one of the liners. So I'm actually going to go to my iron. I'm going to iron my two wovens. No interfacing goes on the liner. I'm just going to go iron these. That's woven. I use woven inside for liners. I don't use other fabric. I always use woven. You can use like waterproof fabric like pull and stuff like that for liners, but I don't use cotton lycra inside of bags as the inside. I'll use it as the outside. Okay, so I'm gonna go prep both fabrics. I'm not doing anything with this. It's just woven. I'm gonna iron it. My cotton lycra, I'm gonna use fusible fleece on this interfacing. So I'm gonna go ahead and iron this, and then I'm gonna put on fusible fleece on it. You can also use SF 101. That is what most people use to stop the stretch on cotton lycra, and it's thinner. That's thinner than fusible fleece, and since I'm making the small bag, it might work fine. It'll probably would work better than the fusible fleece for this one because this bag's really small, but I still like to use fusible fleece. So I'm going to put fusible fleece on here, and I will come back and show you what it looks like. Okay, I have my fabric prepped. So here's my main fabric, and it has fusible fleece attached to it. So if you're using stretch fabric, if you want it to be thinner, then you need to use SF 101, and it's interfacing that gets ironed on. It stops the stretch, but it's a thin one, so it doesn't add bulk to your bag. So if you're making a small one, then the SF 101 would be a good interfacing to use. I like the thicker part, the thickness of the bag. I think it feels more professional, and it's just what you're going for. So I use fusible fleece, which is thicker. It makes your bag thicker, okay? So there's a smooth side and a rough side. You would just measure your fabric. You'd measure your fusible fleece the same way. So I would cut this, and then you would basically take the right side of your fabric face down. You take the rough side of the fusible fleece or any interfacing that's fusible. There's a rough side and a soft side. So SF 101 would go on the same way. Medium weight interfacing would go on the same way. The fusible fleece goes on the same way. So you take the rough side, you place it on the wrong side of your fabric, the right size. You turn it over, and then I just iron it on, okay? That's all you do, and then it makes your fabric thicker, and it stops the stretch on this. It's not stretchy anymore, see? So this is what I use. So prep your fabric however you want, depending on what fabric you're using, okay? Next, we're going to go ahead and we're going to place the liner and the front of the bag at the exact same time. So I'm going to go ahead and flip this over. Okay, now if you have fabric that makes a difference, let me get some fabric that makes a difference. Let me just cut. Well, I'm just going to use this. Okay, I'll use this. Okay, so say that I'm not using this as my liner, but if it was my liner, My liner doesn't matter which way it goes, but I'm just showing you if you have liner that matters. Okay, so you have a line right here that we're gonna come underneath. So put the fabric, the liner fabric facing you. Say that there's hearts right here, like hearts going towards me. I guess these pandas go different ways, so it doesn't matter either. But say there's hearts going towards me. I would go ahead and have the hearts towards me, and then I would flip it up like this, and then I would pull it right below this line right here. Okay, and then I would tape it down, and then when the next line tacks this down, when it pulls down, then it will be facing you the correct way inside of your bag. Okay, so that's the way you're going to want to do it. Mine don't matter. So if hearts were here, I'm going to flip it up this way, and then I'm going to pull it right below this line. I'm going to add the tape. Okay, like this. And then the next step is going to go ahead and do a tack down line. And then when you pull the liner down, it's going to come down like that. Okay. So leave the liner out of the way. It's just going to hang there. Okay. So flip your thing over. Now we're going to place the front of our bag right here. Now keep in mind, this design has, you don't have to stitch this part of the design, but the design does have, detail on the bottom. Let me grab this other bag. I've made unicorns of this bag. This is kind of what I'm going to make. This is the same size. This is the 5x7. I like to make this size bag for little kids instead of having big straps that go like around their neck. Some parents are scared about that, and so that for little kids, this is actually a really good bag to make. It's 5x7, so it's big enough. And then I like to put hardware on the side. I'm going to show you how to do this. And then this can go around their hand so they can carry it around on their wrist versus putting a strap around their body or like by their neck. Okay, so this is what we're going to make. I'm going to show you how to do this, but this has this detail running down here, so you have to keep in mind how you place this fabric if you're trying to get a specific thing to show. Some of it's going to be cut off. Okay, so the way that I usually solve that, and I didn't print one out, but let me look real quick. I'm just going to show you generically. Some people put it on clear. This one will be close because it's the 8x8. But so the way that I do it is I usually print out, I'll print out the full size and it will show everything, but I also cut out this bottom part. Some people like to use clear so they can show exactly where the design will show. So you can see that the zipper is going to come down to here, and if I was making this size bag, it would show all this. So that's an option. I actually just print these out, so then I write on them. I don't know where the 5x7 is, but this is the 8x8. It's going to be close. But if this was the 5x7, you would just put it right here, and then you can draw a line with your marker, and you will know exactly where your fabric will show. This one's going to be awfully close because this is the very next size up, so it's actually pretty close. So if you just go like this, I'm just going to move it. I'm just going to center it. A tiny bit more is going to show than this because the 5x7 is going to be a little bit lower than that, but I'm just showing you what I do. Okay, so I place that there. If you write that like that, then you kind of know where your fabric's going to get cut off. Okay, so you can basically fussy cut your fabric a little better. And I'm just trying to see which bear I'd rather show. I think I kind of like this one better. Okay, so my fabric's big enough. You ultimately, this is going to get cut off, so you have some room you can do here. So basically, you put the fabric that you're going to put on the front of your bag facing you, then it's going to flip up like this, and you're going to pull it down. Now, if you don't care what's actually showing, like if you had a small print or something and it didn't matter, then you would just go ahead and place it closest, and then you can look and see where stuff's going to go when it flips over. I care, so like if I wanted this white bear to show, I can see it's going to cut right about here. So I'm probably only going to see like one eye and his nose. If I want to see more of this bear, then what I would do, if I have a big enough piece of fabric, I would go up more like this, and then let me put my finger, it's going to stitch like right about there. So you can see what's going to show and like that. So if I put it like that, then this bear is going to show, and he will be cut off right about here. So this print's kind of big. You're not going to see a whole lot. The other thing is you can tell from left to right. So I'm just showing you how to fussy cut. You can see that it's going to cut off here, and it's going to cut off right here. So you're going to get like that. You're going to get like that. So you're going to get like that, and then it's going to cut right about here. So that's what I would see if it's placed exactly like this. So I'm going to move this bear over a little bit like that. So he's still good, but then I'll see more of this bear. Okay. Instead of seeing just a tiny bit of this bear and a tiny bit of this bear, now I'm moving it this way. So I get this full bear and I get more of that bear. So I will see this, and then this bear is more centered, but I actually want him to be a little higher. So I'm going to pull this way a little bit more. So I am just showing you how to really make sure that your bear shows where you want it. Okay, so I still see this line right here. That's where it's going to cut off. So if I put my finger right there, it's going to cut about there. So that's about what I'm going to see right there. And that's good. That's what I would want to see. So I'm going to pull. Okay, so this is where I want it, right here. Now I want to make sure that this gets past the bottom stitch line, which is right here, because I pulled this way down. But I have enough fabric. If you cut your fabric really short and precise, I cut from here to here, so I had room to move. But if you cut it really like just this distance, then you're not going to have as much wiggle room as I am to make it like exactly where you want it, okay? But I am getting past all my stitch lines, so this is where I want it. So I'm going to go ahead and tape it down right here and right here. Now I'm going to go to the machine, and I'm going to bring you with me because I'm going to show you some things to avoid so you don't mess up your bag, okay? Okay, I'm on my machine. The next step's going to stitch one line here, tacking the front fabric to your zipper and the liner fabric to your zipper to the stabilizer, okay? So that's what's going to run next. I wanted to show you when you put this back on your machine, your liner is just floating by 2 pieces of tape on there. So you need to make sure that you kind of hold the bottom, put your hoop on, and make sure your liner is out. If it pulls out of the tape, like your tape wasn't sticky enough, then make sure to get it back where it needs to be. Take it off and make sure it's in the right place. Now I was going to show you, I actually like to use this tape. This is the tape you see me over there tearing and using. This sticks a little better and can be reused. And it holds the back a little better than just regular old Scotch tape. But that's the tape I'm using. If you see me tearing it and using it, it's right here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stitch the next step. Just make sure your liner didn't get bunched up and it's still in the place it should be. You can also like look under your machine like this to make sure that it's still in the right place, okay? So that is my tip. I'm going to run it. I'll come back and show you. Okay, you can see that it went ahead and tacked that down. It also tacked our back down, okay? So what we're going to do next is I'm going to cut this excess off. If you put yours just below this, then you have nothing to cut. But I moved mine way down, and I don't want all this doubling over in my bag. So I'm going to leave like just a little bit. You don't want to cut too close so it pulls out of your bag, but I'm going to get this extra bulk out of here and just throw that away. Okay, so that's about where I'm at. Okay, if you have extra on the back too, if you pulled it way too down, you can also cut that now too and then just re-tape it. My tape's kind of bunching here. Let me redo it. Okay. Okay. So you're going to leave your liner up. It's just going to hang out here for a little while because we have some detail things to stitch on this bag still. And the liner's purpose is for it to look nice, but close your seams and everything, but also to cover up any detail stitches you do. You won't see them. Okay, so now I'm going to pull this down. Now you need to you could check right now. There's placements down here. You need to make sure you get past all your placements here and make sure you get past all your placements here. If you are too short anywhere, then you need to seam rip and get a bigger piece of fabric or place your fabric where it will pass it, okay? So the next step, we're going to pull this down, just like this. The next step's going to stitch all the way around here, tacking this down. Okay, so I'm going to go over and do that, and then I'll come back and show you what we do next. Okay, you can see that it went ahead and tacked that down, and your liner's still just hanging out over here. Now, the next step is going to go ahead and do the placement for this detail thing we're going to do on the front of this bag. If you don't want to add that detail, you can skip it. You could just leave this bag like this without doing any of the front details. It's super cute, but I'm going to show you how you can skip it if you want. Your machine should have a plus or minus with a needle somewhere, and then that gets you into your steps and stitches. My steps are arrows. Like my first machine was a PE 770 by Brother, and it had spools, and the spools would jump the steps, and then the needles were the stitches. Okay, mine are arrows on here. This is Baby Lock. But if you want to skip these, if you don't want to do these detail things and you want your bag just to be the front fabric like that, because it's going to cut off too much of your cute fabric, then what you would do is just skip the steps. So right here, you probably, if you have Brother, you might have a spool. I have an arrow. If you go like that, it skips the steps. That's the placement. That's the tack down. Here's that detail stitching. There's more detail stitching. There's more detail stitching. There's the liner. So you could skip all those steps like I did. I just skipped them all and then pull your liner down and do your liner and get the steps, step 10. So if you want to skip them, go ahead and do that. I'm going to stitch them, but I wanted to show you how you can move the steps if you didn't want to stitch that, and then you just could leave all that bottom off. The plus or minuses with the needles, those go like one stitch within a step back. This is usually used for like if your thread broke or something and you need to move back some stitches to get back to where you were, or if something didn't stitch right and you want to go stitch over it again, you use these. Within a step, it will move one stitch, 10 stitches, 100 stitches, 1,000, and the plus moves forward that many stitches within a step. Okay, so I'm going to get back to where we were. So I'm going to go back in my design because I'm actually going to stitch the design. Okay, so you can see this is, we just pulled the front down. I'm going to go here. This is the first detail placement stitch right here. It's going to stitch directly on here, and it's going to show us how big of a piece of fabric we need for that bottom detail. Okay, so I'm going to stitch that, and I'll come right back and show you what it looks like. Okay, there's what the placement looks like right there. So you need to measure a big enough piece of fabric to go over there. Whatever you're putting there, you could put woven over that. You could put vinyl. I'm going to use vinyl. But if you're doing woven over here, I would iron the woven. You could go ahead and put medium weight interfacing on that woven to hold it more, it's thicker so it sits better. I would put some sort of interfacing on it, or you can use Heat and Bond Light because this is technically an applique. You could do Heat and Bond Light and just follow the directions on that. It's pretty similar to putting interfacing on, except for there's like a back coating, like you put it on, iron it, and then you take a part of the sheet off of it, and then you put it on here, and then when you're all done, you iron it and it adheres to it a little better. But right now I'm going to use vinyl. I'm going to use this vinyl. This is Stardust from MyPunkBroidery.com. In my video, if you go right below the video, if you click on my name or whatever, it brings up all the links, and mypunkbroidery.com is on there. 95% of the vinyl I use is from mypunkbroidery.com. This is Stardust. This is my favorite. It's for bags. It's really pliable. Look how pliable it is. And it holds up really well to thick satin stitches. So I actually really use this for all my bags. There's lots of different colors. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and place this over the stitch lines, and then I'm going to go ahead and stitch the next step, which is just going to tack this down. It's going to do this exact same stitch it just did, tacking this vinyl down. Okay, so use whatever fabric you want, get it prepped, and put it down and stitch the next step. Okay, this is what we look like so far. Went ahead and tacked that down. Your liner is still hanging out. I'm going to take some applique scissors, and I'm going to cut just this top portion. You're not going to cut around this bottom. That's going to get sewn into the bag, and you will cut excess off later, but you don't want to cut next to this line because it will pull out of your bag. Okay, so just like this, and you're going to get these applique scissors allow you to get close to the stitches without actually cutting the stitches. You want to get close enough that this vinyl will not show on the other side of your satin stitches. The next step is going to go ahead and do these really pretty satin stitches. The purple is what's going to do these big thick satin stitches. That's what stitches next. So you're going to want to pick whatever color you want that to be and stitch the next step. So I'm going to put this onto my machine. I cut that off. That's how you want it to look, like that. I'm going to put this back on the machine, making sure my liner stays out of the way, changing my thread to whatever color I want those thick satin stitches to be, and then I'm going to stitch it, and I'll come back and show you what it looks like. Okay, that's what the satin stitches looks like. The next stitch is going to be the decorative stitch that goes over those satin stitches. That stitches directly on top of them. It's this one right here, that stitch. That's what's next. So change the color to what you want it to be, and I'm going to go ahead and stitch that. Okay, there's that detail stitch right there. Now the next one's going to go ahead and stitch this bottom detail right here and the two darts on the corner, these right here. If you don't want any of these detail stitches, you have to have the satin stitch if you're putting something down here, but you don't have to have the rest of these other, you didn't have to do the one we just did, and you don't have to do the next one if you don't want to. If you like the way it looks like that, you can leave it and just skip the step like I showed you. But if you are putting fabric or vinyl down here, you have to at least do the satin stitch because it makes the clean edge, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and stitch the next step, and I'll come back and show you. Okay, this is what all those detail stitches look like. They look super cute. So now what we're going to do is we're going to turn our hoop over. We stitched everything we wanted. All the detail stitches are stitched. If you went into software and added like a name or a monogram or some sort of design that you merged into this design, you would stitch that right now before you pull the liner down. Stitch any detail stitches that you've added now before you pull the liner down. We're not adding anything else to this bag, so I'm going to go ahead and flip it over. I'm going to pull my liner down. Now remember how I said I don't really measure my fabric and it's going to be too long, it's going to get into this. This is what I'm talking about. So now I'm just going to cut a little bit off. You know how long you need it. You need it a little bit longer because we turn the bag with our liner fabric, but it doesn't have to be in to your actual thing here. It gets in the way. So I'm just going to cut some of this off so I can tape it and keep it out of the way of this. Okay. I'm going to take some tape. I'm going to pull this down. You're going to make this smooth and tight so it's where it needs to be. And I just tape off the edges. And then I also tend to tape these corners because I don't want them getting folded over. A lot of times if you don't tape these and you put it onto your machine, it kind of folds over and ends up in your line, and then you have to seam rip. So it's just easier to put the tape there. Okay, so this is what you want it to look like. Okay, I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to go back to my machine. I'm going to put this on my hoop, and then I'm going to look underneath to make sure that none of this tape pulled up. When it's on my hoop, I'm going to kind of just pick it up like I showed earlier, just to make sure your liner's still in place before you run the next step. The next step's going to go all the way along this outline right here, tacking your liner to your bag. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll come back and show you. Okay, this is what our bag looks like so far. This is what the top of your hoop looks like. This is what the underneath should look like right there. Okay, that's where we're at. Okay, now we're at the point where we're going to put the back of our bag on the front of our bag. And whenever we do that, we want to open the zipper. It does not matter what bag you're making. Every single zipper bag, when you put the back on to the front, you need to open your zipper. I open it far enough over that you can turn through this hole, but not so far over that the foot of your machine can't get by here, because the foot of your machine is going to go by here several times going along these outside placement lines. Okay, so I'm going to open it about there. Now this is where you add your hardware to your bag or your tags or whatever you're wanting. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay, all the different stuff you want hanging off your bag. This is when you add it before you put the back of your bag on. So I'm going to make mine exactly like this unicorn one. I'm going to take some fold over elastic. You can use other things. You can make bias tape. You could use fabric and make bias tape. You can use vinyl. You can use, I'm using fold over elastic. It's just stretchy, decorative elastic. So I'm going to use a swivel lobster clasp, what this is called. I'm going to put my fold over elastic through this, just like that, okay? Now you put your hardware on the inside of your bag. At the end of this, we cut all the way around this, getting all the excess off of it. If you placed it the way that you would envision it being at the end, this is going to get cut off. So it flips over later when we flip the bag, but right now you're going to place it. Now, and I'm placing it along this stitch line right here. That's where it's going to stitch into the bag. Now, if you pull it this way more, then this is going to be longer. Your fold over elastic will be hanging off the bag longer. If you want it shorter, where you just don't have very much of it, then you pull it this way. You need to make sure that you're far enough over that the foot of your machine can get by that line, that placement stitch line, without hitting your hardware. That's like the shortest you can make it. Because if your foot hits your hardware, then it's gonna mess up. Your machine will probably throw an error on you, and it'll probably break a needle, that kind of thing. Another tip, like if your machine ever hits like any of your hardware or anything and it shows an error or something, don't like fix it and then put the thing back on and stitch from there, because the alignment of your machine gets messed up when it gets stuck somewhere. So what you want to do is you want to fix whatever it's stuck on, and then you want to shut your machine completely off, turn your machine back on, let the design reload, and your arm will remove, which is aligning your machine again. If you stitch from where you were, it's going to stitch the design and it's not going to match any longer, because your arm is no longer in the right place and your machine doesn't know it. So if you ever run into that, ask me how I know. I've done it a few times and then I'm like, oh, I didn't realize. But so, and it ruins your design. So make sure that you restart your machine and let it realign, and then it will start where you were at, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and put that there. Then if you wanted to make like a crossbody bag or something with purse straps, the way that I do that is I usually make, you might want to do like bias tape, and there's videos in the Parker on the Porch group. Bev made a video about bias tape and how you make it. But I'm just going to kind of show you with fold over elastic real quick. I'm not going to do it in my bag, but I'm just going to show you. So you're going to want these D clips. They're just called D rings or whatever. So then the way you would do this is you would just go ahead, and I normally move my zipper in a little bit more. You would go ahead, I place it right under my zipper right there, and I would tape one right there, and then I would tape another over here. And I would measure, making sure it's equal distance and stuff. You would make sure you're the same distance from the edge and from the top. When it stitches, it's going to stitch along this placement line up here. You can see where it's going to stitch. It'll stitch all the way around. So when it's done stitching, these will come up, and then you can clip a crossbody strap or some sort of strap to it, and it will make it into a purse, okay? You can do that. The other thing, if this bag's really small, this is a small bag for like a little kid. When I do little kid bags, I tend to like using like fold over elastic, and I like putting like one right here without anything, just a loop, and one right here. And then I use macrame, let me get it like this, string, and I braid it, and then I put it through either side, and it ends up being a braided strap. That's another idea you can do. You can pretty much put anything you want along this bag, this whole outside. If you wanted something down here, over here, a lot of people put their business tags going in right here. You'd place it similar to this. A lot of people put it down here in the corner. You can do a lot of things. If you want it to be on the inside of your bag, not the outside, like right here, if you want it on like on the inside of your bag, you would place it over here when we put the other liner down. There's lots of options that you can do here, but I'm just going to go ahead and do this right here because I want mine to be like this. I'm going to do like a little wrist hook to it later. Okay. So the other thing that's cool about these, even if you take this off, the little kids can use this as ponytail holders because it does just come off, and then they can clip this to backpacks and different things. So, you know, I kind of like this as a kid bag. Okay, I'm gonna put it on later. Okay, so now what we're gonna do, now that we have all your hardware on, make sure any hardware you want on is on, then you're gonna go ahead and take your fabric. Now, you're gonna place, this gets placed differently than these do. These flipped over, so it's placed differently. So the way the back of your bag's gonna go on, if you have the right side up facing you, if these were hearts facing me, hearts are facing me, you're going to do it this direction like this, and then it will be facing the correct way on the back of your bag. Your fabric will be facing the correct way, okay? So that's what we're going to do. Just go ahead and get your fabric on how you want it. Make sure you're getting past all your placement stitches, and then we're going to go over the machine, and it's going to stitch all the way around here several times, tacking your bag, back of your bag to front of bag. Make sure your zipper is open. If your zipper is not open, you're not going to be able to turn your bag, so make sure that's open. Okay, so I'm going to go stitch that. I'll come back and show you what it looks like. Okay guys, this is what we look like right here. It went ahead and attached the back of your bag to the front. Now you're going to flip your hoop over, and we're going to put our liner here. And like I said, if you want like your tag on the inside of here, go ahead and place it. Say you had your tag, you would do wrong sides together. If you had a tag, you do wrong sides together. If you have your name here, however you have it, say your name is right side, say it says Angela this way. I don't think I have anything because I don't put tags in my bags, but just say that said Angela. You want it, if it's facing you like this and it says Angela and that's how you want it, it's facing you and I can read it, then you're going to do it this way, like that, making sure the loops on the inside, and you can pull it over to make sure that it's, you know, it's going to cut off where this line is. So just make sure it's placed where you want it to be. And then when it's done and it's on the inside of your bag, it will show your little tag on the inside of the bag. Okay. So then I would just tape that and then put your liner on. Now, right side's fabric. Okay. So if hearts are here facing me, you're going to go this way like this. Okay. And then it will be facing the correct way when it comes out, okay? So put your liner right sides together. So this is the wrong side facing me. You're going to tape these corners down. So okay, now we're going to go over to our machine, get this on your machine, make sure to look underneath once it's on that none of this moved, and then stitch the last stitch step. It's going to do the same thing, just leaving a hole right here. It's going to stitch down, around, but leaving a hole. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stitch that. I'll come back and show you. Okay, this is what the top of your bag should look like. This is what the back of your bag should look like, bottom underneath of your hoop, I mean. When you take this off, because we are done stitching, get this tape off. Okay, now I like to cut from the underneath because I can see the hole right here. And I leave a little excess fabric. I can't see where the hole is. Well, you can kind of see where the hole is on the side, but I like the side better because I'm keeping some of this liner. So the way that I cut, let me get my other scissors. I like these ones better. Okay, so the way I cut it at an angle over here, cutting up to where those stitch lines start. And then I turn. You don't want to cut any of your stitches. I'm just going to cut all this excess stuff off. Okay, when you get to this side, you cut to where the stitches stop and turn the other direction. And then I cut across like this. Okay. Let me just get that out of the way. Okay, now this is your liner. You need to keep these liner pieces. That's going to help us close our bag. I always put my liner up like that. And then I turn to this side so because I can see the stitches. I can't really see the stitches here. Okay. So I go like that. Now I'm going to cut this excess off. We don't need any of this. Now make sure when you cut this, your scissors is straight. If you're cutting at an angle like this, like if you were cutting like this, you're going to cut into your bag. You don't want to do that. Make sure they're straight and just cut across. Okay. So you still have your liner, which is what you want. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and flip our bag. So be kind of careful because this is just woven and there's reinforced stitches right here, but you don't want to pull this out. There is a way to like make it look okay if you do, because I have done that before, but it just doesn't look as good. You have to like tape higher up. So just make sure to kind of go gentle. Make sure you're not gonna tear those stitches. I tend to just go to the corners and push the corners through, and that makes it a little easier. Okay. It's not too bad. Okay, I'm gonna get my turning, whatever you use to like help get your corners out, go ahead and get it. And I'm just gonna push these corners out a little bit just so I can get it clean. Okay. Now I'm gonna take this out. This is the excess fabric we left down here. You can see that the cutaway's out of the way and the zipper's open, so we'll be able to turn through that. Now I'm gonna use this peel and stick fabric fuse tape to close this bag. You can use glue. Let me show you the glue I would use if I'm using glue. I would use this Fabric Tech glue if you prefer to use glue. You can sew it if you want. You can ladder stitch it by hand if you want. Lots of people have different preferences, so close it however you want. I'm using this, okay? So I just go ahead, you can see the stitch lines right here. I place this tape right over the stitch lines like this, and I just go all the way across. When I get to the end, you can just tear it. Okay, and then I make sure that it's really stuck down to the fabric. Okay, and then you have two pieces of fabric right here. So I fold this in. You're basically just sandwiching them. So I take this and fold it in as well. Okay, once you get it the way that you want it, I'm just molding it to the way I want it. If you want a little more of this in, I just scoot it down. But once you have your fabric kind of how you want it, then I start taking the tape off. Okay, so I just open it up and I get the corner started. Okay, and then I just do a little bit at a time. This stuff's really sticky, so you don't want to pull it all off at once because then it's going to be stuck everywhere. And I'm just trying to cover those stitch lines, and that's how I line it up. Okay, when you get to the end, I just pull it out. If some of the fabric comes out, you know, I just use this to push it back in and to get it stuck together. Okay. And then I'm just pushing it together, getting it great. Okay, so you can see that it's closed. There's no opening. It looks fine. Okay, now we're going to turn through this part of our bag, our zipper. And if there's some little strings and stuff, you can go ahead and cut those now. Make sure not to cut any of your fabric. I'm just going to get some of these little strings that are hanging out. Okay, and then go ahead and flip again. I'm just using my turning system. Now keep in mind I used fusible fleece, so mine's going to be kind of thicker and bulkier, and yours might be thinner. So I'm just working at it. Okay. Okay. Making sure I don't have any strings on the outside. There's a little string right here. I'm gonna cut this. Okay, here's your cute little bag. This is the Clutch size 5 zipper 2020 Parker on the Porch bag. This is what it looks like. It's a cute little thing hanging off the zipper. There's the front, the cute details. There's the back. Open it up. Your liner, you're completely lined. You don't see any of the stitches. Super cute bag, okay? So if you have any questions, let me know. And go ahead and post your cute bags over in the Parker on the Porch group. If you want to see more videos, go ahead and subscribe. If you click on the little bell, it will notify you when a new tutorial is up. And if you're wanting links to any of the stuff like the scissors I use and stuff like that underneath this video, go ahead and click my name, and there's a bunch of links down there, including telling you the design and the link to Parker on the Porch and stuff like that. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Can't wait to see what you make. Thank you so much.